Well, good morning, Realty Pros, and welcome to our new agent training, Working with Buyers Part 2. Today, we're going to be talking about converting leads into buyers, going through your buyer consultation, and actually securing those clients and working through the issues that would prohibit you from getting to settlement. So welcome. We have Curtis Price. We have Mr. Porter with us, who will be both training today. So I want to go ahead and begin the discussion. Welcome, guys, and let's jump right in. Before we began the recording, Curtis, you were sharing some pertinent points to a question that Joy asked. So I'm going to have you guys to go ahead and continue there for the group.
Yeah, so basically, Joy has a client or a future client that she's been working with, looking to actually set up the buyer consultation and running into some issues with just locking it down. A lot of times we can have potential clients that are extremely busy. Everybody's busy, got everything going on. And then you might have some clients that'll be very quick to jump in and eager to want to learn the process. So there's no kind of right or wrong. Some are just going to make it a little easier on you. But kind of what I was alluding to, Joy, is, you're just going to have to kind of keep working with her and letting her know the power and benefit of the home buyer consultation. The thing with the home buyer consultation is, especially with the first time home buyer, it's going to really set up the actual course of the transaction. So one of the things that I'll really let new clients know is that by doing a buyer consultation, we can manage the expectations. So we really want to do the buyer consultation so that they're more informed, they know what they're getting into, so that with her busy lifestyle and schedule, as we're going through the process, there is going to come a time where certain documents, certain things are vitally important to have done and to get back to your lender, because it all becomes very time sensitive. The other nice thing, or kind of the segue with the buyer consultation, is that at the end of the buyer consultation is a way that you guys can have all of your agency documents already preloaded in Brokerment, already ready to go. And then you kind of wrap up the buyer consultation with, hey, right now I'm sending over some documents for you to sign off on. This actually, now makes me, your realtor, that I'm solely have all of my fiduciary duties to you. And once I have the document signed based off of the property search that I have set up or that I'm going to set up, we can actually now go and shop and find that new home for you. So depending on the person, you're just going to meet people that going to be a little easier, a little or a little bit more, I don't want to say difficult, just more challenging to work with. But just reassuring, like, hey, I know this is your first home, I know you're busy, this is how we're going to make the process even smoother for you. Because you're so busy, all I need is a few minutes of your time. I just want to go over this process with you, at the end, sign off on these documents. Now I'm legally your realtor, and let's go find your new home.
So thank you, Curtis, for that. Question that I do have is, my practice has always been that the buyer consultation agreement is always completed prior to me taking you out for any type of showing.
Yes.
In this case, she said to me, I'm not, because I don't think she signed anything with the people she was with before. And so she, kind of said, I don't know whether I want to sign anything with anybody, not directly talking to me, but in general, until I know I really want to work with the agent. So with that being said, not to beat a dead horse on this particular issue, because I know we have to move forward, but I'm leaning towards that if she doesn't sign the documents up front, then I'm not taking her out anywhere. Do you all agree with that? Because I do know some people will start taking people out and they don't have anything signed. So just wanted to make sure you all agree with that.
Absolutely. If I may jump in, let me just say this. You never want to take a person out if they do not have a signed agreement. It's a total waste of time, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Because first thing is that you're the professional and you have to set the tone that people are going to have to understand that there is a system and there is a procedure that we utilize. Because if they don't get that up front, they will be trying to control the narrative in this thing all the way through, and they have no idea of what they're doing. So understanding that we do want to acquiesce to the wants and the needs of our buyers, but they have to understand we have a system that stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. It's a system on our side and their side. We have a system that we do not deviate from. And the problems that we run into is when we do deviate. So first of all, a lot of times people have to make up their mind. This is a big deal. And you cannot rush this process. You cannot put this process, well, I don't have time and I don't have to. Well, we're going to have to carve out some time. There's certain things we're going to have to do to make this work efficiently, because when you start doing that, then people start saying, well, this is not working right. I don't know what you, well, it's not working right because we deviated from our system. So no, you don't want to take a person out because a lot of people just want to shop. They're not ready. We have to have a made up mind in this transaction. You have to have made up your mind. They have to have made up their mind that they want to buy, that they're ready, that they want to go through the process. And the only way they're going to know that is by doing the buyer's consultation to know what they're up against. Just like we have to go get them pre-approved. We don't take people out unless they get a pre-approved letter. The first thing we do, we send them over to Mike Cooper. Make sure that you're pre-approved to be able to buy. We have to do a buyer's consultation so you'll know what you're going through when you buy. And then after that, we can go out. Everybody wants to jump to, I want to go see some pretty houses, but that's totally against the system. And from my experience, it doesn't work. And I can tell you this real quickly, and hopefully you guys can still hear me. I had that situation, and the guy was like, you know, he really wanted to go, and he wanted me to go all the way up in Maryland, about an hour away. If he had not already done the buyer's consultation, if we had not already where he had put in the $795, if none of that had happened, he ended up canceling and walking away. I would have wasted all that time, all that gas, all that energy with absolutely nothing to show for it. So it taught me, I'm glad I did it the way Mr. Porter told me. It taught me the need, and it taught me the benefit of doing the system step by step. Because if people think that they can get you to do what they want you to do, they'll do that all through the process. They'll run you ragged, they'll be in control, and then you're no longer the expert, they're the expert, and you're just going along for the ride. If that makes sense.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning,
Porter.
Mr. Porter.
All right, man, listen, I'm telling you, you guys are so well trained. I don't even know what else to say in reference to that, Joy. It's an excellent question. Don't think that this question is not something that we should move on from. This is something that we talked about, I think, on Thursday with the mindset and the psychology of buyers. And this is something that you're going to run into from time to time, and you have to learn how to mitigate it. And the thing is, I mean, everybody's already hit on it. Curtis and Kermon did an excellent job, but I'm going to just bring you back a little bit to what we talked about Thursday. Buyers are always going to bring us their fears, uncertainties, and doubts, and we're going to always have to bring them features, advantages, and benefits of everything that we do in the process, because nothing that we do, we're doing for our health per se, but we're doing those things because they absolutely work and they're best practices and they're in the best interest of the client as well as the agent, in making sure that they're on the same page and securing the type and the type of property that the client wants. And so the process at Porterhouse is always the same. You know, I told you from the beginning, when you meet a person and they say the word I want to buy out of their mouth, let me get you over to my lender is the next phrase that you want to say. Then once you get back that golden ticket, congratulations on your pre-approval. Even if they come with the pre-approval, congratulations, this is a nice pre-approval. What time can we do your buyer's consultation? Well, I don't have time to do a buyer's consultation. I'm pretty busy, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like my last agent. We weren't successful. Those are great things to know. Did you all do a buyer's consultation? So I don't know if you've asked that. Did you all do a buyer's consultation? Well, that's why you weren't successful. The buyer's consultation is absolutely essential. And Mrs. Buyer, I really don't want to push back on you on this instance, but I have to say that we have to get on the same page. We have to prioritize the purchase of your home. It's not a difficult process, but it can become very difficult and very problematic if you and I don't sit down and we know exactly what the expectations are from each other. Because there are going to be some things that you expect of me, and then there's going to have to be some things that I expect of you in order for this process to work very well. And especially if you don't have a lot of time in your schedule, we really have to be very efficient and proficient at what we do. So again, what is a good time for you and I to sit down and do the buyer's consultation? Remember, there's a sale that's going to take place in every conversation. Either she's going to sell you or you're going to sell her. And it doesn't even have to come down to, well, I'm not going to be able to take you out. Because here's the process. Once I do the buyer's consultation, this is what Curtis alludes to, then I'm going to set up your search, because now we've come to some agreements about what's really available in the market for your price point, some strategies based upon what you shared with me. If it's money that's a concern with you, if it's time that's a concern with you, if you have plenty of time, then there's different options. So there are a lot of things that come out in the buyer's consultation that I just can't set up a search for you and expect it to work, because we really haven't extrapolated all of the things that are concerns from you for you versus any other buyer, maybe in the same price range. They might have different priorities than you. So we need to sit down and extrapolate all of those things. And that's going to tell me how to set up your search. You might be interested in a short sale, and I might be willing to go through the process with you because you don't have to move right away. Or you might be looking for a fixer up, or you might be, there's a whole lot of things that we can pull out. Then I might can share with you, you might be eligible for a 203K, or you might be eligible for a program, just by me sitting down and talking to you about what this whole process entails, who are all the players, what the moving parts are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these things are all of the things that we need to really get a grasp of in order for me to do the best work for you, so you're not disappointed with me at the end of the day. And that you get your house, and that you're so excited about the process that you tell all your friends, because I need your referrals. All right. And then we're going to sign some documents so that I can officially represent you, and then we can move forward. Otherwise, and I would tell her this, otherwise you'll be a customer, and by law, I have to place my clients' priorities above all of my customers. And I certainly don't want to do that with you, because your time is valuable.
Great insight there,
you.
Mr. Porter. Thank you for sharing that.
All right. So I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone, Jasmine, because I'm driving, as you know. So to go back to Kristen's question, I think Kristen asked the question, how do we get them to narrow it down? Kristen, there's no other way. This is a formula that we created at Porterhouse. We call it the 1031. It's our top secret formula. All right, not really, but we, I have fun with it. It has made me a great closer. And what it does, it focuses your clients. Now, that being said, do the clients always get one of the first three houses, Kermon?
Absolutely not.
Curtis, do they always
They
get
do
one
not.
of those first three? Okay. What about you, Curtis?
No, but
You're
sometimes they
trying
do.
to yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
So the idea again, and let me say this to you, ladies. The idea is for you to put your foot forward and show them that you are the realty pro, that there are so many other things that are involved in the buying process besides the big picture. Let's go, we got the pre-approval, let's go buy a house. Well, there's a whole lot of details that we need to figure out. There's a whole lot of things that we need to know so that we can strategize to make sure that we win the house. And that's another term. We got to win the house. It's not going to be just because you submit an offer, you're going to get it. We have to be strategic and we have to approach every house different. There's going to be some conversations that I'm going to have with the other agent to find out what that seller is looking for. And I'm going to be able to pull some data from them so they see that seller's concerns and your concerns where they marry so that we can put forth the best picture of the offer that we're going to send. So all of these things are so important. I need to talk to you about strategies about earnest money deposit in the current market versus earnest money deposit in previous markets. I need to share with you the strategies surrounding having sellers contributions in the current market versus in other markets. I need to have conversations with you about tax deductibility and the tax deductibility of interest and the tax deductibility of your taxes. I need to have conversations so you can go on and on and on and just share with people so that their mind starts to say, I don't know any of those things that you're talking about. That's why we need to do the buyer's consultation. And in the buyer's consultation, I'm going to tell you a secret formula that we use at Porterhouse that helps our clients win their offers. It's called the 10-3-1 formula. Have you ever heard of that? And they're going to say, no, never heard of any of those things. This is why we have to do a buyer's consultation. And then when you get there, Kristen, you're going to say, this is how we need to do this because we're going to waste our time running around trying to find any old thing, and you're not going to be satisfied with any old thing. You said this is what you wanted. You said this is what you wanted it to look like. And we want to get as close. Is that feedback coming from me?
So
No.
go ahead.
Okay, somebody needs me. Okay, so lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Where was I? I forgot that quick.
Don't wanna waste our time. This is
Exactly.
what we
So
wanted.
exactly. So this is the 10-3-1. We don't want to waste. I don't want to waste your time and I don't want you to waste my time. Going around and seeing properties that just are not going to fit what you are going to ultimately want. And we get into the process because you promised to write an offer. And then at the end of the day, you decide it's really not what you're looking for. So let's go through the process. Let's narrow down our focus and give me 3 properties and no more than 4 that you absolutely love. And we'll go see those 3, no more than 4. And then we're going to write an offer on one of them. And we're going to see what happens. And if you like 2 of them in this current market, we might even have to write an offer on 2 of them. And I need to tell you why we can do that in this market, but we wouldn't do it in a different type of market. And I'm going to talk to you about what markets mean and how that affects your ability to purchase a home. So you share all of that with her up front. You share that with them about narrowing down the focus, and then they can start to see that you have a real comprehensive plan. You're the realty professional, and you're trying to really do your best to get them in the house, and it's not going to work with a slipshod, willy-nilly, lackadaisical, half-hearted effort. It's just not going to work. So I really can't represent you well unless you're my client, meaning that we sign off on these documents, we do things the correct way. I know you've been disappointed. You won't be disappointed with me. I'm going to represent you well, but you have to let me. And if we can't start off on that good foot, then I don't know if I'm the right person for you. And you have to be willing to say that.
Wow.
And I guarantee you, they're going to respect you. They're going to believe you. And that's what I always tell people. People buy from people that they like, trust, and believe. And when you have integrity, when you have a process, when you have a system, when you know what you're talking about, and you have a response to those fears, uncertainties, and doubts, because you can think of all of the features, advantages, and benefits. And this is why we do what we do. We always like to talk about the why. Why are we doing what we do? I don't want to do a buyer's consultation. I don't want to waste my time with you and say the same thing I say to every client over and over and over again, but it's absolutely essential. And I'm not going to set up a search for them, Joy. I'm sorry. I don't set up a search. I don't do anything. I had that golden ticket sitting out there, and until you come and we sit down on Zoom or we get to the office together and we go through this buyer's consultation, I've had people basically ignore me during the whole buyer's consultation thinking they knew things. And they didn't know anything. And you can tell by a person's demeanor whether or not, like Karamon said, if they're wasting your time. If they're not going to be serious about the start of the process, what's going to happen when we get into the process? And then, or if there's problems within the process that we could easily have mitigated had we had these conversations, that these things are going to come up. And that the lender's going to continue to bug you over and over for the same documentation, and that this is going to be required. You should create a folder to keep yourself organized, and all of these things that I'm going to go over with you that I just don't have time to say to you. Outside of an organized system where we do this buyer's consultation. Porterhouse's buyer consultation, I dare say, is one of the best buyer's consultations that I've ever seen or heard of. And I'm not just bragging on myself. I know it is because it's comprehensive, it's well thought out, it's very well organized, it hits on a lot of triggers that lets you know what your buyer's fears are, what their concerns are, so that you can then manage those things and start that buyer on a positive path to success. And does it always work? No. But I tell you what, you're going to have far more successes than you are failures if you do the buyer's consultation. And if you don't do it, you're going to have a whole lot of questions, concerns, misunderstandings, frustrated customers, and you're not going to close the sales that you thought you should have closed. I've closed so many sales, and it's not because I'm finding the houses like that anybody else couldn't find. It's because I did that buyer's consultation, and those people knew what our game plan was. And when I passed the ball to them, they knew how to lay it up. When I told them to get those 2 checks to the office, there was no questions asked. Many times people wanted to write the checks at the table, and I took them. So signing the documents once you finish a good buyer's consultation, that's not even a thought. Now you have some people that say, I want to read through it and all of that. And I'll say, are you an attorney? Because the average real estate agent doesn't read through the whole contract, and we should. And that's one of the things I told Curtis. I told Caramon, read it. We need to know what's in it. But if the buyer really wants to sit there and read, I said, take your time and go through it, sign it when you think you understand everything. If you have any questions, give me a call. And you can just tell, like I said, Joy and Kristen, you can tell by the pushback that you receive whether a person like, trust, and believe you, whether they're comfortable with you, if they have fears, uncertainties, and doubts. And I hear the fear in both of your clients' voices. Well, in Joy's client's voice in particular. Her fear is that she wasn't successful with her last agent. Well, did your last agent do a comprehensive buyer's consultation with you? What kind of questions did you all go over? What information did she share with you? How many pages is her document that she shared with you? Was it a 52-page comprehensive guide that is interactive that you can write in, that you can follow the process through, that it tells you what to do from the time you start packing to moving to getting your money in order, how to keep your money organized, what the closing cost means? Did it cover everything? Well, they didn't do a good buyer's consultation, so that's why it fell apart.
Yeah, and I thank you so much for that, Ms. Porter. I already communicated back to the person that referred this lady to me that the buyers, I did go ahead and I I set up that MLS search, and I won't do that again moving forward. But I did do it this time for her. But I did communicate to the person, stating that the buyer's consultation was going to be very essential. And if she did not sign the buyer's consultation, or, was still apprehensive about it, then we wouldn't be able to go out and see any houses until, she made a decision, because this was a part of the process and I was going to follow the process. And she should respect the process that's been put in place. I'm the subject matter expert in this. And either she's going to trust me with this, or we won't be able to work together. So, and I'm okay with saying, okay, well, this is just not the client for me. Because I do want to be able to work with people that trust me and I trust them, and we have a good working relationship. But I'm not going to let her dictate how this process is going to go moving forward.
Right. And I think the most important thing is not, it shouldn't be a battle of wills, but for me, it's a battle of skills. So, the skill that I'm alluding to is not so much if she doesn't want to cooperate, then I'm not going to be able to help her, because I'll still help her to the best of my ability. But I'm already aware that her lack of cooperation was going to hinder our progress. And so what I'm trying to share with her, and I hope I'm not sending the wrong message, is that I do want to work with you. However, we have to work together in the spirit of cooperation, in that if I'm telling you that we need to do something, then that's what we need to do. And I need, and that needs to be messaged in that way up front. I'm going to be calling you and say, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to run to the bank right now. I need you to go today. I need you to do this. I'm going to have to call some shots, and I'm going to need to know that you're going to respond to those shots that I'm calling. I need you, and I tell people, even stuff that I'm saying to you, Joy, you can even tell people, I'm going to need you to trust me. I'm going to need you to believe me. I'm going to need you to even like me, so that you know that I'm working in your best interest. I'm going to need to feel that, because I'm going to need you to motivate me to keep going when things get tough. And I will need you to let me know that it's worth going to fight for you when things are just denied, or somebody says we're not going to make it. I'm going to need to know that you have my back the same way you expect me to have your back. And it's that kind of thing. You're trying to build this relationship. And sometimes it's not easy. I don't want you to have the mindset, well, I'm not going to, throw up your hands. But at some point, it comes to that when you start to see people kind of jerking your change, and they're not serious. There's a way to do that. That's not what we're talking about today. But there is a psychology to this thing, where you have to know that most people are just afraid. They don't trust people. They think somebody's trying to get over on them. They think somehow you're going to scam them, or they're getting scammed throughout the process. You have to be as charismatic and friendly and forthright, honest, but you have to act with intelligence. You have to make sure that they understand that you and her cannot go out looking like a mixed bag of nuts, trying to do serious business where they're going to write the biggest check that they're probably going to ever write in their life. And that's to purchase a home. We just can't do that. It just doesn't make sense if you think about it. I know your job is important, but I dare say that the house that you're going to purchase is going to cost more than you make in a year at your job. And you take your job very seriously. So we need to take this process very, very seriously. You can come up with, you got to have all of those little, thoughts in your mind. These are the features, advantages, and benefits. This is the benefit versus that. I know your job is important, and think about how much time you spend on your job, and how you have to answer to your clients. Well, you're about to purchase a home that's worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. I don't know what you make, but if you don't make that, you need to dedicate as much time and as much energy and as much focus to this process as you do to your job. Because this is a very important decision we're making.
Got it. Yep, makes absolute.
So you plead with them. You plead with them. And if they don't feel that passion coming from you, that I'm trying to look out for you, help me. This is a serious, I mean, we do this for a living, but I try to break it down to the individual client. This is serious business, homie. We're not playing out here. This is real money. People out here, they will try to hurt people for this kind of money.
It's the biggest
And so
purchase they're going to make in their life.
It's the biggest purchase. One of the biggest purchases you'll ever make in your life. And if we don't take this seriously, we're going to be disappointed down the road, because guess what? You and I didn't come up with a plan. And that's all the buyer's consultation is. It's a plan. It's a plan for success. And what you're telling me is that we just want to get out there and do whatever willy-nilly we do. And that's not how it works. So I really need you to come on board with me. And I'm gonna give you some time to think about it, and just let me know when you're ready. And then you can get off the phone. You don't have to, hang up or be mean about it. Just plead with them and let her know. Listen, just let me know when you're ready. When you're ready to get serious, I'm ready. I'm right here with you. Well, I am serious. Well, then can we do the buyer's consultation now? We didn't talk for 30 minutes. We could have been finished.
That's true.
Yeah. And so, you can't be a smart aleck like me. I can get away with it. But you have to use your own personality to say some of these things to get that through a person's head. Listen, I just want us to have a plan for success. That's what a buyer's consultation is. Don't you want to have a plan for success? Then we need to really sit down and get to some serious business. And I need to show you how we're going to use this secret formula at Porterhouse 1031 to get you into the house that you want.
Hey, and you know what is interesting too, Joy and Kristen, is the aspect of everybody is talking about time, right? So Joy, your client, I don't have time, or I'm so busy. And Kristen, your client, or you're kind of looking at the issue of how do I get them to look at just 3 properties or select 3 properties. One thing that as agents too, that we have to be extremely mindful of is our time. It's not just their time. This is your time as well. You're taking the time out to work with the client, to show them properties, and in this climate that we're in too, everybody's aware of time. Everyone's busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. So by doing the buyer consultation, it's going to save us time. By narrowing down that search to just 3 properties, it's going to save us time, so we can move a lot more aggressively and move faster to get our offer submitted and in, because the market is so aggressive. We just can't be out there looking at 20 properties, because 19 of them are going to be under contract within 2 days. And that's real. It's very, very aggressive out here. So you can't just look around and play with it. We have to, when we're ready to go, we got to go. It's go time. We're going to look at the property. If you like it, I love it, I'm going to write this offer up, and we got to submit it as soon as we can, because there are other offers already in, or if not, they're coming. So we have to move with speed and aggressiveness. There's no waiting. There's no, well, let me think about it. And you're going to get the client too that's going to think about it. And then while they're thinking, that property is under contract. And then you can show them, look, well, it's gone. It's already off the market, because we didn't move fast enough. The other thing too with time is, if you are kind of getting, like Shay was just kind of pointing out to this, if you are getting some pushback, hey, it's all good. I need to do the buyer consultation though. So if you're not ready, let me know when you're ready. I'm here for you. I'm going to work my butt off for you. And then in the meantime, you need to find another person that wants to do the buyer consultation, and find another person that wants to do a buyer consultation. This person giving you the hard time, you're still going to work with her when she's ready. But it doesn't mean because she's giving you some pushback that you don't have to work with her. But when she comes online, you're ready to go. But in the meantime, I need to find that person that's ready to do a buyer consultation right now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you all for all of this great information.
Mm-hmm.
That was great insight and great contribution. Great job to all of you guys. Kristen, did you get your question answered as well?
Yeah, I like the, we're able to move more aggressively, right? Especially, based on how the market is now. I like that. So I wrote down a couple phrases that you guys shared. So that's helpful. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so we're talking about the buyer consultation. We will go ahead and move into the buyer consultation there. So give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and move through. Stop this share and open up the next one.
Jasmine,
You went out for just a moment. Say
can
that
you hear
again.
me?
Yes.
I said, can you guys hear me? Okay. So while you're working on that, I just want to say this too, guys. And I see Paula's on the line. Good morning, Paula. I just want to say to you guys, when it comes to renters, I love renters, and we get renters quite often. A lot of people don't like renters and other brokerages. We love them at Porterhouse. And one of the things that I like to do is what's called converting renters into buyers. And so I know that we're going to talk about turning leads into buyers, but a renter is a lead. Okay. And most of the time, people are going to come to you who are looking to rent, and it's kind of an urgent situation, and they want to move from here to there. They need to do it ASAP. The first question that you're going to ask them is, do they know their credit score? Okay. And if they do, a lot of times renters know their credit score. It's amazing to me, but they do. And they'll tell you, oh, my credit score is a 648. And the first thing I'm going to say is that, that's a buyer's credit score. So I'm giving them some new information. I said, well, for the same amount of time and essentially the same amount of money, if you're going to put a last month of security deposit down, I could probably get you a house. Are you willing to get a pre-approval? Let me get you over to my lender and let's see what he says. And then we can determine which way we're going to go. We're going to see if he can get you pre-approved, why don't we get you a house? You'll love me more for that. But if he says, we need to rent, then I'll help you with that. So don't miss those opportunities to even turn your renters into buyers. And I'll tell you a quick success story while Jasmine's pulling up some documents for us to look at this morning. I remember I had a lady who had been renting all of her life. She was 60 years old, never owned a home in her entire life. She was battling cancer at the time. The building that she had been living in, she had been living in that particular building for 20 years. They had turned over ownership and the new owners wanted everybody out. And she called a friend, hysterical, one of my frat brothers, and he called me and he said, I need you to help her out. He said, she's a good friend of mine. She's going through a lot. Now they want to evict her. And so I'd had that conversation with her. I said, well, have you thought about purchasing? I mean, you've never owned a home in your entire life. I said, well, listen, I said, let's just see what happens. Let's see if we can get your pre-approval. Let's see what happens. If that happens, then I'll take you through the buying process and we can get you in your home with 30 to 45 days after you get your pre-approval, depending on how quickly you're willing to work with me. And I said, and I'm sure you're going to be happy. Well, we got the pre-approval back, guys, and the pre-approval was only for $175,000. And so her response to me is like, Mr. Porter, what can I seriously get for $175,000? And I told her, I said, I don't know, but God does. And we went out and we looked for homes, and she didn't have a car. So she had a gentleman friend who would come pick her up when he could, to take her out to look at these properties. And in doing so, we stumbled across this fully renovated from top to bottom property that was beautiful. It wasn't a town. It wasn't a townhouse. It was a side by side. It was townhouse look, but it was just two houses together, and then there's a yard on 3 sides, and then there's the next 2 houses were the same thing. And she just loved this house. We wrote an offer on it. I even called the agent. I said, yeah, she's going through stage 4 care. I mean, I put it on him thick. And, and her tenant, her landlord threw her out on her ear, and she had been there for 20 years, loyal tenant. And I mean, she saw this house, and this is the house that she absolutely wants. And, I went through the whole shebang and we got ratified. And I called her and I said, you said something to me in the beginning of this process. She said, we couldn't get a home for $175,000. And I said, you know what, you're right, because we're going to get this house for $160,000. And we got her that house. It was a 2-bedroom townhouse, fully finished, basement, fully finished, everything in it was brand spanking new, and they threw a deck on there. The house was gorgeous. I'm gonna send you guys a picture just so you can see what I'm talking about. And when I say this woman moved in there, the guy was so impressed. The seller was so impressed with, me schmoozing him and all of that stuff, that he told her to pick an item in the house, because the house was staged, that she wanted, and he would let her keep it. And she loved this little fireplace thing that was, it was like those little Art Deco fireplace things that looked like a wall art. And she said, that's all I want. And so he gave it to her as a gift. This woman has been living in a house now for what, 7, 8 years now, Jasmine?
About 7, 8 years. Yep.
The happiest client, one of the happiest clients you ever want to meet, beat the cancer and everything. See, home ownership has benefits, y'all. Okay? It has benefits. Okay? And knowing the Lord has the best benefit. But anyway, I think that's what helped the cancer. But just throwing that out there. All right.
Okay, so we've been talking about the buyer consultation, and now we have it pulled up. There is a component that I've heard echoed throughout what you guys have been saying with converting the renter and the buyer, and this is it, the fiduciary piece right here. I heard one of you say that, hey, I'm happy to work with you, but you would be a customer opposed to being a client. And this is something that we want to make sure that all of our customers understand. As Mr. Porter would say, the golden ticket to buying your home is your pre-approval, but in working with a realtor, the golden ticket is to have somebody, to be somebody's fiduciary. Why is it so important for the client to be the fiduciary? And you have a cheat sheet right on the screen there, because then and only then do we owe them our full care, full obedience, full loyalty, disclosure, accounting, as well as confidentiality. Those things are owed to a client. Unfortunately, not a customer. Those things belong to the client. Mr. Porter, do you have anything you'd like to add there?
No, I think you're right on the money.
There it is. And then in terms of agency, this is something else that speaks to a question that I heard you guys have, especially your client, Joy. At the very bottom of this screen, if that client is viewing a property and has not yet signed a buyer brokerage agreement, that agent is a sub-agent of the seller. The agent does not work for that buyer, and nor can they work for the buyer legally without having a signed buyer brokerage agreement. Our buyer tenant agency agreement is what gives the client the right to have the fiduciary benefits. Outside of it, they have no legal right to those benefits. So let's just make sure that we're sharing this information with them so that they understand, hey, we absolutely want to represent you because we want to do everything that's in your best interest. But not only is it a benefit for us to be your agent, it is far more a benefit for you to have me as your agent than for you to not have me as your agent at all. Because like Mr. Porter and everybody else has said, if you are making the biggest purchase of your life, don't you want someone that owes you full care, obedience, loyalty, disclosure, accounting, and confidentiality? Or do you want someone that is able to handle your transaction loosely because they owe none of those things to you, nor could they because you do not have a signed agency agreement with them? Okay. That being said, when that agent is taking that buyer into a house without a signed buyer agency agreement, that agent actually owes their obedience to the seller. And that's something that most shoppers, and I say buyers when they become client, but most shoppers, they don't know that. Though they may be concerned and, hey, I don't want to sign a buyer agency agreement or whatever the concern is, they're not aware that they've now put themselves in a position, like Mr. Porter said, whereas back in the day, there was no such thing as buyer agency. All agents work for the seller. And several laws have been enacted to protect buyers because there was no protection. So this is something that is very essential and was done to ensure that buyers have protection in the same amount of representation as the seller. And what they're doing by not hiring someone that will be duly bound by their license to represent their best interest and their interest alone, they're putting themselves in a position where they actually have no representation. Does that make sense? So within your buyer's consultation, you're going to see where you talk about the seller agency, you talk about the buyer's agency, and whose best interests are being represented there. This is essential that the buyer understands that, because if they do not have an agent with whom they've signed a buyer agency agreement, then none of these things belong to them. Would any of you like to add anything to that?
No, I think that's very powerful, Jasmine. And you know, that's that expert level knowledge. That's why I told you guys on Thursday, when Jasmine tells you to do something, to do it, because that's really the best answer to that question, Joy. I said a lot of things qualitatively, but almost from a quantitative standpoint, you want to let the customer, if at this point, know, at this point, you know, without the signed agency agreement, I don't really represent you. I represent the seller. And you want to have somebody who's looking out for your best interest. And that's the purpose of us doing agency. And you can even show it to her. You can read it to her. That's why I say it's important to read those documents. Because in reading those documents, you can extrapolate the information that's going to be pertinent. I don't think anybody wants to go out and not be represented if they can be. And essentially, it's free to them.
I absolutely agree. That is the case with most buyers. It's simply a matter of information that they have not been yet exposed to. And that's what our goal and that's what our job is, to make sure that we educate them so they walk away empowered. And I think that we can't say it enough, because it's such a state of mind of buyers that not enough of us have shared this information. So you have a whole slew of buyers that just do not understand that shopping around and going to see properties with agent after agent, you have absolutely no representation. And you're going to be sharing information that is very sensitive. You're going to be sharing your private, personal, confidential information, your credit information, your hopes, your dreams. You're going to be sharing all of these things with people who have absolutely no legal protection for you outside of that agency agreement. Okay, so we talk about fears, uncertainties, and doubts. If that's not a fear, it should be. Okay, so like Mr. Porter said, we want to provide them with features, advantages, and benefits, but let's do our due diligence too to expose some of those things that they are exposing themselves to unaware, because we have people, unfortunately, in every industry who have done things that they shouldn't have. But let us be the ones to protect our clients and provide them with this information so that they are not exposing themselves to people who could do them harm, and they think that they're leading the ship, but they're actually not at all. They're putting themselves at a huge disadvantage. Okay, so those are the slides within your buyer consultation that speaks to those things right up front, so that when you sit down with those buyers, it's now very crystal clear as to why they must have an agency agreement with you. Okay, so although in all relationships you have to act honestly with the buyer, if they're not your client, you only have to provide them with material facts, not your expert information, not your advice, not your counsel. If they are not your client, you do not provide that information, and that's per your buyer agency agreement. You can only provide them with material facts. You can't even guide or lead them into negotiations if they are not your client. Okay, so share that information with them. This is your buyer consultation. I'll go back for a moment. Kermon, Mr. Porter, do you guys have anything? I'm sorry, Curtis, Mr. Porter, Kermon, anybody, do you have anything that you'd like to add there?
No, that's excellent information. Some of that I didn't. So I didn't realize some of that. So thank you.
I mean, I would like to just real quickly point out that, I know we've been kind of talking about some clients or potential clients that might be more challenging per se that, we're trying to get to work with, but clients that are like willing and able. What's happening right now, guys, is that we're really setting the framework and we're showing people why they need to work with us, why they need to work with Porterhouse. It really is putting us kind of in another level of realtor per se, that we're about that business. We're really serious about what we're doing, and we're teaching them the process. We're educating them on what they're about to get into. So this is all very powerful information. And I always say to folks, new agents, seasoned agents, print out the entire our consultation.
Yeah.
Have a resource. Actually,
I gotta go, gentlemen. I'll be right.
I found mine. This is like my old. This is like
Curtis, one second, Curtis. Jasmine, could you please mute Kermon?
Yes.
No, I found this is my old one. This is the original. I got stains on it. I got notes all in. I got handwritten notes in it. So like, if you don't have one printed out, I highly recommend print one out and then go back to the trainings. All these nuggets of information, write it down right here at the Understanding Agency, make the notes, handwrite it down. And then at night, you read it over, you look it over, and it starts to stick more and more. But this is really powerful stuff, guys.
Any question? Joy, Paula, Kristen, how are you guys feeling with this information? And do you have any questions about delivery?
I'm feeling well. I don't have any questions at this point. Thank you.
Excellent.
No,
Ms. Porter,
Kristen, I think you were sharing. Yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
it's okay. Kristen, I think you were sharing. I couldn't hear you though.
oh, I said no, not yet. No questions.
Okay, perfect. Paula, do you have any questions about anything? All right, well, you guys let us know. So we're going to move forward into the next part of the training for today. And just for your guys' convenience so that the video is not 3 hours long, I'm going to end this video and we'll start a new one, okay? All right, we're going to move forward into the next segment where you guys are going to do some role playing.